We hit 10,000 subscribers on this channel, and I owe a big thank you to you because it's your likes, it's your comments, it's your shares, it's your views, it's your subscribes, it's your feedback on what you want from this channel that has helped this channel to grow. So thank you so much, not just for supporting the channel, but also being a part of this message that it is possible to crush your goals, not your soul. I owe all of this to you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Speaking of feedback, I've had a lot of you ask me what I actually did to grow this channel. So I want to share my YouTube how-to, YouTube tips, what I found actually worked versus what was a waste of time, what I did in my first 6 to 12 months versus what I'm doing now. I also want to share whether or not the algorithm seems to be favoring me now that I've hit this mile mark, as well as what are my strategies that I'm going to be implementing this year. Hopefully this will help you if you're growing a channel or considering a channel to know whether or not this is a good fit for you, for your business, for your goals. I'm Tara Wagner, breakthrough coach and lifelong entrepreneur. I help fellow entrepreneurs crush their goals, not their soul. If that sounds like your jam, be sure to hit that thumbs up and check out my other videos after this one. Okay, so I'm going to jump into my analytics. I'm going to show you what was actually happening the first few months and what I was doing to create that. But the first thing that I want to say is that I came into this treating it like a business, which meant that I had a plan, it meant that I had a schedule, and it meant that I was very carefully analyzing everything that I was doing to make sure that I was seeing momentum slowly, very slowly at first, but that I was doing the right things and actually getting some results from it. So that's the number one thing that I would say is come into this, treat it like a business because it has the potential to become one. And if you treat it like a business from the beginning, you've got more potential down the road. So the very first thing that I did was I watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to start a channel. I listened to some podcasts on how to start a YouTube channel. I found Sunny Lenarduzzi's course, YouTube for Bosses. I really liked that course. It's really solid, is much more affordable than a lot of the other courses out there. And it taught me all of the basic skills, the foundational things that you need to know, a lot of extra strategies, some of them not really helpful, but you know, whatever, you do it in the beginning to just do everything. And then a lot of them are really helpful. It really gave me the foundation that I needed to get started. But one of the things that I picked up from her in a podcast that she did was that if you're launching your channel, do a launch. In other words, do something that will bring people to the channel, make it a big deal, kind of like a party or an event. And actually at this time, I was going to a weekend event with Amy Porterfield and Marie Forleo. And so what I decided to do was live stream from that event all of my notes and takeaways from each day. And so you can actually see this here. This is where my channel trailer went up. I don't think that this is up anymore. You can probably find it somewhere, but this went up on August 14th. August 24th, 25th, and 26th, I was doing 3 live streams. Now, I did a lot of promotion of these live streams. I put them out everywhere. I ran ads to it. Like I was really trying to throw everything at it to get people subscribing before the event actually happened so that I had more people on the live stream. My thought with this was if I get people to subscribe ahead of time, if they have it on their calendar, I have more people on the live stream, this is giving me more watch time. And it's really telling YouTube, hey, this is somebody who's bringing people to the platform, which is something that they want to see, by the way. And so I just kind of put everything into doing these live streams. Now you can still find these on the channel. They weren't great. They were done in a dark room. The audio is not awesome. They're a little bit messy, but it was helpful information. The people that were there really enjoyed it. It was fun and it got me going. It got me out there. It gave me something to plan so that I had a date that I had to launch by, I needed to show up for. And I think that that was really helpful. So you can see I started tracking my YouTube metrics and analytics and everything early on because I found it difficult to navigate analytics month by month. And so I'm really glad that I did this because it allowed me to track my progress month over month. One thing that I will say is I didn't actually start with 0 subscribers. I had a video on my channel that I had put up probably a year and a half before that had like 10,000 views. If you have been around since that video and you know what that video is, comment below. It's no longer live on my channel, but if you think you know which one it is, you need to comment because props to you for your memory, number one, and for being here this long. So I came into the channel with about 161 subscribers, but they weren't my ideal client because that video was something completely off topic. And so when I was starting to build this, you can see that by the end of September, I got up to 399. So this is from the middle of August to the end of September. I gained 230 subscribers, not too shabby. Now there was a lot of work that went into that, but that's where we started off. So it wasn't quite at zero. Didn't really help me to have those 161 subscribers because I'm pretty sure most of them left after I started posting content on things like time blocking and let's see what else is here. More time blocking and work-life balance, totally different than what they were expecting. So again, I feel like I started from zero, even though I technically didn't. Okay, so what did I do in my first 6 months to grow? So number one, I want to show you where I was 6 months after growing. By February 1st, I had just hit 1,000 subscribers after 6 months. This is by no means record speed, but it's also not the slowest out there. I was pretty happy with it. I will say, I thought my first year I was just gonna I was gonna be able to rock this, I was gonna get 100,000 subscribers, it was gonna be amazeballs. It's harder than that. It takes a little bit more than that. And so my first 6 months being at 1,000, I was pretty happy with that. Over time, I was happy with that. Once I had a reality check, I was happy with that. So that's where I was. So what did I do my first 6 months to be able to grow somewhat quickly at a moderate clip? Number one, the first thing that I did was I got really clear on my ideal client and what their needs are and what their challenges were. And then I just went into experimenting with content based around what I already knew that they needed. Now, this is a big experimentation in the beginning because even though I had worked as a coach for 10 years, I was switching my target audience to working specifically with female entrepreneurs. Now, I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years. I had an idea of what they were struggling with, but I didn't really know what was going to do well on the platform as well. And so it was really a lot of experimentation to figure those things out and just to see, what was going to make sense, what was going to take off. Now, in the beginning, not a whole lot took off. I was getting maybe 100 views after, 2 weeks to a month. It is what it is. Again, you focus on just progress, not perfection, right? You focus on what good things are you seeing and not what are you not seeing. Otherwise, you're going to get really discouraged really fast. The other thing that I was doing, and you can see this here, I was doing 2 videos every single week. This is through November. Then I took December off. Now, my goal in the beginning was to always take December off, just kind of have vacation time. But I didn't realize that if you take December off, you got to actually start working again late December because you got to have content for January. And so that was kind of short-sighted. I should have created January's content in November, but that's a little bit too far ahead. The content isn't always as relevant or timely in that situation. So I stopped doing this. I no longer do this, but that first few months, I took the entire month of December off just to slow down, reassess, holidays, birthday, all that sort of thing. Now I'm just planning better so that I can create that content in advance. And I may eventually start taking a couple weeks off over Christmas. Then I went back to 2 videos a week. Now, this was only for about the first 6 months because I could not sustain it and build the other areas of my business that I needed to build. I was still working on the Breakthrough Boss Inner Circle content. I was, building up coaching. I was doing all these other things. 2 a week was just not sustainable. So I cut that back to 1 a week. I actually have a video on that if you're curious about where I was at in that stage. I'll link that down below. But cutting back to twice a week, I did see a difference in my growth. My growth pretty much cut in half because now I didn't have twice as much content for people to find or to engage with or to subscribe from. And so I did see a dip after I did that, but it was a necessary change because I just couldn't do it anymore. It was just way too much. The other thing that I did in these first 6 months was I did a lot of self-promotion. And I hear from a lot of people that are like, that's gross. I don't want to self-promote. I'm going to annoy people. That's slimy. Nobody. And I'm just like, look, if you don't believe in your content enough to go out there and share it with people, other people aren't going to believe in it either, right? You've got to have enough belief and enough confidence to know that this is of value to someone, whether it's entertaining, whether it's informational, whether it's inspirational, whether it's educational. You need to know that your content has value. And if it has value, focus on that and find the people that need that value. So what we did was, in the first 6 months, I would go into Facebook groups, any of the popular Facebook groups that I knew my ideal client was hanging out in. And I would find content that was somewhat recent, usually within the last week, sometimes in the last month or so. People asking questions about the content that I was serving up. And I would go in there and I would leave a comment and give them some helpful information, answer their question, and then say, if you want more about this, I have a video on this topic. You can click here and check that out. A lot of my first subscribers, and if you're one of them, comment below and let me know if that's how you found me. It was through a Facebook comment. A lot of people found me that way. YouTube also really likes that, because if you can bring people into their platform, that's super, super helpful. They want to see that you are starting sessions, is what it's called. They want to see that you're bringing people to the platform and that they're watching content. Now, in the beginning, you don't have a lot of your own content to watch, but if you can get people started, even if you lead them to other videos after that, even if you don't, even if they're just watching your video, that's going to help your channel. That's going to help the algorithm take you more seriously, because now people are coming in from other platforms to see what you have to say. So YouTube's like, maybe I should show this to other people like that. Now, the one drawback from this that I will say is people on Facebook tend to stay on Facebook. They don't tend to use YouTube as much. Now, obviously, there's a lot of overlap, but there's some that aren't. And so I would bring people over, but they wouldn't subscribe because they might just not be into YouTube. And so that wasn't as helpful, and it wasn't something that I did forever, simply because I found when I engaged more with people on YouTube, that's when my channel was growing. So the other thing that I would do was go to other channels and engage with people in the comments. I wouldn't leave links on there. That will usually get your comment, like it'll make it pending, like it won't go right away because they have to be reviewed. But I would just answer questions, and I would share feedback, and I would, talk to that creator or talk to other people in the comments. I wasn't self-promoting though. I wasn't on there saying, come and check out my channel, or I did a video on this. I was never criticizing the person whose video I was watching, because if you're watching somebody else's channel and you criticize them, those followers, those subscribers are probably not going to like you because they like that person, right? So I'm not going to channels that I don't always believe in myself. I'm not going to go to channels that I don't already trust or enjoy. I'm going to channels that I like and that my ideal client likes, and just authentically engaging in those comments. The other thing that I will say that made a big difference with this YouTube engagement is when I changed my channel name. My channel name was just Tara Wagner. And when I added Tara Wagner Coaching, I saw a pretty significant increase in the number of people who were going from a comment that I made on another video into my channel and then engaging with my channel from there, simply because now they knew that I was a content creator and they had an idea of what my content was about. So just simply adding the word coaching made a big difference. So that's one thing that I would say. Make sure that your image and make sure that your name is relevant to your ideal client. Make sure that they can see at a glance in general what you're about. Obviously, coaching doesn't tell you a whole lot about what I'm about, but it does help for people who are interested in information, inspiration, encouragement, coaching. That's when I was starting to see a difference from that. So highly recommend that. Definitely was a keeper. One of the things that I did in the beginning that was not a keeper though, was little stuff like we would take the transcripts. We would have the videos transcripted through Rev and upload those transcripts because we were told that that helps the YouTube algorithm. I don't know that it really did. When we stopped doing it, we didn't see any difference whatsoever. So now we let YouTube create the closed caption and we go in and edit it and fix it, but we don't spend the money on Rev that we were spending because it just didn't make any difference when we stopped. Okay, so this is my first year on YouTube, and you can see I was doing more frequently up until it looks like March. Yep, March there was 8, February there was 8. Come April is when I went down to once a week. So you can kind of see the growth. You can see this big spike in growth. There was 200 in one day. I had 175 another day. The reason that this happened was because I did a collaboration with Gillian Perkins. She was gracious enough to do a collaboration with me when I had very few subscribers. And that led to a lot of growth in my channel. I had a lot of YouTube specific people coming over and subscribing to the channel. This helped for a couple different reasons. Number one, it got me in front of a similar audience so that people who were like-minded, they liked Gillian's work, they liked my work, could then subscribe. Because they were also YouTube people, it started telling YouTube a little bit more about who wants to watch this channel, who is this channel for. And so it's hard to see it right here, but I definitely saw an increase in views after that point, just a little bit of an uptick, not just from those subscribers, but overall I was starting to see a little bit more in YouTube search. I was seeing a little bit more in recommended. I didn't get a lot of recommended in that first year, but I was definitely seeing an uptick in everything simply because now YouTube knew who to serve my videos up to. Another thing I did for self-promotion was I would actually have our editor, or my husband at the time, because he started out doing the editing for me, create a teaser. I don't know why I'm holding it like this, but it was basically a 30-second clip of the video, and we would put that out on my social media. So my Facebook group, my Facebook page, and my Instagram. So we would upload this and hopefully drive people to the channel. Now we didn't actually usually share the YouTube link directly because Facebook doesn't like it when you share YouTube links. That post will not get seen as much. So we uploaded it as a teaser video directly to Facebook, directly to YouTube stories, things like that, so that we can then tell people how to find it. So it was like search YouTube for my name plus the keyword, and that would get people going to YouTube. It wasn't ideal. People don't love it when I do that. They always are like, why don't you share the link? And I'm like, because then you wouldn't see the post at all. So it is what it is, but that's what we were doing in the beginning. We're still doing that today, but a little bit differently, and I'll share more about that towards the end of the video. I actually have another tip to help YouTube know who to serve your videos up to, but I'll come back to that one. I want to say another thing that I was really doing was I started to focus less on metrics and really started to focus more on people. The metrics are important. You need to know your analytics. You need to know your numbers. You need to be able to know what's working, what's not working. But the focus has to be on people first, and then using the metrics, using the analytics to know whether or not it's resonating with people. And so I really just started focusing more on what do my people need? What do they want? And focusing less on what's going to do good on YouTube, what's going to be picked up by the algorithm, what's going to go viral. This took me a little bit longer than I think it should have. I think I probably spent the first year really focusing too much on trying to get picked up by the YouTube algorithm instead of just making good content for the people that I was trying to serve. If I had focused on that and focused on the search, the being picked up by the algorithm, getting recommended, getting your video into recommended, I think that would have happened a lot sooner. That really started happening in the second year after I was doing more of just what my people wanted. The more you make your people happy, the more they're engaging with your content, the more YouTube knows who to share that content with. One way that I was really trying to do this was by trying to get to the point faster. Now, I'm still not great at this. I try to keep my intros as tight as possible. I try to get into the content of the video within 30 seconds. I'm not very good. I'm talky. I have a lot of words to say. And so it's something that I'm constantly working on. But one thing that I did for this was I took out my intro video, there was music and I just found it wasn't worth it. I also started experimenting with introducing myself at the end of a video so that I could get into a video faster. I've since just recently gone back to adding a short intro in the beginning as well, just to give people an idea of who I am, what I'm about, and kind of, tease them into looking at more content in the video. You saw that in the beginning of this video. So it was just some of the things that I did to try to tighten that up to get to content faster. The reason for this is that the average retention rate, most people will stay on a video for 30 seconds. 30 seconds. So the faster you can get into the reason why they clicked the video, the better. Even if the reason is at the end, if you can do some teasers of what's throughout the video at the beginning, or what I like to do is share an agenda at the beginning, here's what we're going to cover in this video. That helps people to know, okay, I'm in the right place. This wasn't clickbait. I want to actually watch this video. The other thing that I was really doing my first year was just working on camera presence, just being comfortable. I already felt pretty comfortable in front of the camera, but it didn't come off that way. And I was really learning how to balance between a script and just talking to the camera casually. That's something that obviously I'm still working on and will be working on probably forever. But after my first year, I really started feeling more comfortable. Like I was talking to a person and not a screen. And that made a big difference in how people were engaging with me because they felt like they knew me now, because they could actually see me and how I talk and how I engage. More of my personality started coming out as I was getting more comfortable being off script, being able to just talk ad lib. All of that helped my channel to grow as well as helped my business to grow because people could really get to know me and understand who I am. Am I the right person for them? Also in my first year, I started doing less oil content. Because essential oils and emotional aromatherapy are such a big part of what I do, I was doing that content once a week, and then I was doing mindset and business content the other week, or the other video in that week. So I was getting a lot of oil content being built up on my channel, and YouTube was really starting to look at my channel as an oil channel, which meant I was bringing in people that weren't necessarily my ideal clients. My ideal clients are female entrepreneurs. Men are welcome too, guys, don't worry. But people who are more mindful, they're working on their mindset, they're working on personal development, and they might be open to using oils as one tool of that. But that's just one piece of what I do. I didn't want my channel to become an oil channel. And so I actually pulled back on that quite a bit. I only do oil videos here and there. I talk about oils throughout some of the videos, but I don't do as many oil specific videos because it was really niching my channel down in a way that I didn't want to niche down. Now, I may actually start a second channel at some point, but that's not in the plans this year. I'll share what is in the plans this year in just a little bit. But being able to cut that out and really focus more on the mindset and the business piece really allowed me to bring in more of the clientele and the customers and the audience that I was trying to reach with this message and the work that I do. So that was up until the first year. By the time I was hitting the end of July, I had my subscribers. I was almost at my watch hours to get monetized. It was the very end of July 30th, I believe, that I was able to be monetized. So I didn't make much my first 12 months. I made a whopping $46 from ad revenue, but that was okay because I wasn't using ad revenue as a major income stream. It was just kind of a bonus. I'm creating content anyway, might as well have YouTube pay me for it. It was nice to have, but you can see overall in my first year, by September 1st, I had a total of almost 2,700 subscribers. In my second year, I gained 4,200 subscribers and I earned about $2,000 in revenue. This, again, didn't really pay for my expenses in terms of an editor and time and energy, but it was a bonus. It's not something that I expect from my business. It's just an added revenue stream. So because this wasn't my goal, this is all happy money to me. It's just bonus. It's just like, yay, I did it. Yeah, the end of the second year, I was at almost 7,000 subscribers. So that was about 6 months ago at the time that I'm recording and launching this video. So then you can see over the past 18 months, so my second year, and now this is into my third year, my total estimated revenue has gone up dramatically. So those 12 months, I only made $2,000. I've made $8,000 total, including those 12 months. So $6,000 just in the past 6 months. The reason for this is that I had a couple videos that just blew up. The majority of my ad revenue is from one basic video. And so this ClickUp tour video has garnered me $5,000 just since it launched. Now, here's the thing about this video. This video is appealing to people who are shopping for project management tools. Because of that, the advertisers are willing to pay a lot to be shown on this video. And so I get a lot of ad revenue from this video, both at the beginning, the end, and I have ads in the middle. So that's why this video did so well. And it's something that I plan to do more of. I plan to find more content that is search friendly, but also serves my ideal client so that I can really focus on content that's going to do well in YouTube, but that does not stray too far from what my clients want. I think of it as search plus church plus merch. So I want to appeal to the search engines, I want to appeal to my audience, and I want to try to appeal to advertisers when I can. But the most important thing out of those is church, my audience. I want to appeal to my audience first, search second, advertisers third. And going into this year, that's part of my strategy. I'll talk a little bit more about some things I'm doing this year that I haven't done before. But first I need to adjust my lighting because the sun will come out tomorrow. So what helped me in my second year? What did I start doing in my second year that I wasn't doing in my first? First of all, I started focusing more on my ideal client's point of view. And I do this through my YouTube planning template. And if you want a copy of this template, you can get it in the description. What I do with this template is I just sit down and I first focus on where's my ICA? Where's my ideal client at when it comes to this topic? What is she struggling with? What bad advice is she getting? What is she needing? What action do I want her to take? What does she need to know that that action is even the right fit for her? And I go through those things at the beginning of every YouTube video that I plan out so that I make sure that I'm aligning with my ideal client's point of view, and I can make sure that the content that I'm creating is really going to resonate with that person. The more that I do that, the more that I talk about what they're needing, the more that I see engagement from those people. Like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I was needing. Because now I'm really connecting with them and where they're at. So they know that I get it, that I know where they're at, I understand what they need, and I'm helping to provide value to that problem or answer that question. Back to that search versus church content. Some things that I've done to be able to do that is I try to jump on trends when I can. Now, I batch videos in advance. I don't often have the ability or the bandwidth to create something at the last minute. So when it's possible, I try to do that, but it's not a huge thing that I do. I do think it's helpful, but you got to remember, if it's a trend that's going to be not trendy in a week, like it's a news article or something like that, it might garner you some initial traffic and then it drops off. That's great, but it serves a very different purpose than the content that can continue to work for you. The other thing that I did was I started answering FAQs, basic questions like, what is mindset? What is a mindset coach? Things like that people might be Googling or searching. They might want a definition for something that, the dictionary definition doesn't really give them. They want a fuller explanation of something. I really just started to look at what are some of the basic foundational questions that my ideal client might have. And I started creating videos around that, and those videos do really well. That's one suggestion that I highly recommend that you take. Look in your niche, look for some basic questions that people are asking, and create videos around those, and do those sooner rather than later. You want to have those as your foundation in your channel as soon as possible, so that as you're starting to build, you're not boring your clients or your customers or your viewers with content that they don't want, right? Those basic questions, they're not going to answer most people's questions. Like, they're not going to appeal to everybody who's already subscribed to you. So get them out of the way now, and then go in and start kind of building on that content from there. Another thing is I try to ask for engagement. I ask for likes, I ask for shares, I ask for comments. I'm not very good at this. I get into my content, I get into the groove, and I forget. But engagement is where it's at. YouTube wants to see engagement. So the more you can ask people to engage, the better your channel's gonna do. Now, I mentioned doing some things that tell YouTube who to serve up your videos to, and the thing that I found with that was channel tags. This was so basic, so simple, but basically just, who do I want my videos to go out to? Add that as a tag in your videos. So if you want it to go out to women in business, if you want it to go out to millennials, if you want it to go out to single dads, whoever it is, put those in your videos, every single one of your videos, so that if your video is a little bit more niche, if you have that in there, YouTube's going to say, okay, this is a niche video specifically for these people, not just for everybody. Now, this isn't 100% foolproof, right? You're still going to attract some people that aren't within your niche, but it does help YouTube to just know, who should I give this video to, especially in the beginning. Once I started adding those channel tags, my name, I started adding mindset coaching, I started adding female entrepreneurs, I really started seeing some traction. YouTube started serving that up to more people. So what are the things that I've always done that I started in the beginning and I'm still doing now and I plan to continue to do? Number one is always planning out videos and batching. I want to sit down, and I'm working on actually planning out multiple months at a time, at least the topics, not necessarily the entire video. And then sitting down like I've always done, once a month, and really diving deep into planning each video and then recording in a batch as well. This is the only way I've been able to stay consistent, and I intend to do this going into this year as well. Continuing to learn optimization. I do not believe I am ever going to stop learning all of this stuff because it's always developing, it's always evolving. So obviously our skills need to evolve with it. So things like retention rate, thumbnails, titles, tags, any of those things that we can do to continue to just learn and tweak and figure out what really works for our audience, what really works for this channel in particular versus what's working for other channels. Testing and experimenting, but always just looking at the data and going towards, what's best serving our audience. Not just what's creating a lot of revenue or what's creating a lot of traffic, but what's really serving our ideal clients. Now, I mentioned consistency, but I have to say again, the importance of consistency is legit. Everybody knows that. Everybody will tell you, pick a consistent schedule, stick with it. Yes, all of that's true, but there are some things that have helped me to be consistent. So outsourcing, I outsource quite a bit. I outsource the editing. Hi, editor. His name is John. He's amazing. I outsource the thumbnail design. I outsource even just uploading the video. Basically, I plan the video. I film the video. I proof the videos. I proof some of the thumbnails and things like that if they need proofing. And I engage with comments. Those are the things that I do. Everything else to do with this pretty much gets outsourced. The other thing that I will say in terms of consistency is you've got to be organized. You've got to have a way to plan out your videos, to organize your content, to organize files, all of those things, because the messier it gets and the more you're doing your channel, the more stuff you have. So the messier it gets, the harder it is to stay consistent, the harder it is to stay organized, to stay focused. And so we do quite a bit in terms of organization. And if you want to know more about that, there's a link below to a YouTube planning template, like how I plan out my YouTube videos. It will help you. And if you would like to see more in terms of how we organize everything, comment below, let me know, and I can plan a video for that as well. So you can kind of see behind the scenes of like, how do you stay organized with this type of stuff so that you're saving time, saving energy, and able to create more? A couple things I've always done is use keywords everywhere and TubeBuddy. This year, I'm actually starting to delve more into vidIQ and compare that with TubeBuddy to decide which one I think is going to be most beneficial or what I get the most results out of. I'm just starting to get into vidIQ, so I'm not really sure which one's going to be best, but I definitely love keywords everywhere because it tells me that search volume. It helps me to see what's really worth it in terms of keywords that I should be using with my videos, and that's all helped quite a bit. Another thing I've always done and will continue to do is focus on progress, not perfection. I don't focus on what's not working. I focus on what is working so that I can double down on that, learn from that, and continue to develop. Now, this doesn't mean that I don't look at what's not working. I do. I just don't focus on it. I look at it, I learn from it so that it can help me to develop skills so that I can get better and better. I think a lot of people come into something like YouTube and they think they've got to be really good out of the gate. If they don't have a certain number of subscribers by month 6, month 12, whatever it might be, then they're like, it doesn't work or it's not good for me. And really the consistency comes down to staying with it long enough while you're learning the right skills to actually get results. If I didn't have that mindset of progress, not perfection, I would be focusing on what I wasn't getting instead of focusing on the results that I was getting. And that would have slowed me down a long time ago because the first year was the hardest and the worst. And so I definitely encourage you to look at where's your mindset on this? Where's your focus on this? Are you focusing on what you're not getting? Are you focusing on what's not happening yet? Are you focusing on the goals you're not reaching yet? Or are you focusing on the progress that you're making month by month, watching the percentages, looking at, hey, I've got 5 new subscribers, or I've got 50 new subscribers, or I've got 500 new subscribers, instead of my video didn't go viral, right? It's progress, not perfection. Where's your focus going? That's going to determine how you're feeling and what you're able to do. It's sort of like that Ira Glass video, The Gap. If you haven't watched that, I Definitely highly recommend it. He talks to writers in that about how do you go from being a crappy writer to being a good writer, and how do you bridge that gap. And he talks about you just got to get in there and you got to make lots of content and you got to not worry whether or not it's good or not, because good comes through practice and repetition and meaningful, purposeful practice, like really doing things in a deliberate way so that you can learn and grow and develop those skills. You're not going to get as good as you want to get without being willing to be bad along the way, make lots of mistakes so that you can learn and get better at it. So just keep that in mind if this is something you're doing, that you're gonna be messy. You're gonna hate your first videos. So you might as well get them out of the way quickly. The more content that you create, the more consistently you create it, the more you're gonna see results. Comment below with progress, not perfection, if you agree with that one. And then I wanna share with you my strategy, what we're gonna try to do this year to grow the channel. The number one thing, other than what we've always been doing, which is to continue to learn, develop skills, practice things, test things, experiment, the number one thing that I am trying to do this year, testing it, experimenting, I can't make this promise yet, but the goal is to go back to 2 videos a week. I'm a little bit nervous about it. I don't know if I'll be able to sustain it, but my health has come such a long way in the past year that I do have more bandwidth. And I also have so many more content ideas than there are weeks in a year for me to create them. And so being able to double that content means getting more value out to you guys. But it also means more growth, right? The more videos you're putting out there, the more people can find you, the more you're showing up in search and recommended, the more revenue that you're creating. All of those things lead to more growth. You got to be doing this sustainably. I did this the first 6 months and I couldn't sustain it, so I cut it back. Now I'm at a place where I'm ready to experiment again to see if we can sustain it. I'm hoping to do this for a couple months and then analyze and see, okay, just on a personal level, can I do this? And I'm not even going to look at the results in terms of the analytics, but just on a personal level, is this realistic? And if it's realistic, then I will test it again throughout the entire year and see where we land at the end of the year, and then decide, okay, do I want to continue with 2 a week? Do I want to cut back with 1 a week? That will also obviously depend on other things that I'm launching, other things that I'm doing, because it's a big time commitment to create this content. So what I'm doing right now is creating content basically over the span of 1 week a month for the following month. And if that works, if I can sustain that and keep everything well organized, we'll keep doing it. So the big question is, does YouTube start promoting your channel more when you hit a certain number of subscribers? Did I see a bump in the algorithm when I hit 10K? And the answer was, hell yeah, I did. So I created less content last month because, as you know, I had COVID and wasn't creating content, got way behind on everything and had some gaps there. I launched, I think, 2 live videos and 1 live stream. One of those live videos had already been created before I got sick. And so after that, there was just no content. We just couldn't do it. So even though I created less content, I saw 193 more subscribers than usual. My watch time went up, my views went up, and my revenue went up. If you look at my revenue in December, it was at $977. My revenue in January jumped up to $1,600. Now, this was not just from new videos. My new videos don't create a lot of revenue. It was older videos that continued to do well. And there was some timing there because that ClickUp video that I mentioned before, that does really well around the time when people are going to be looking at goals or reevaluating their business or reorganizing things, which is what a lot of people were doing this month. But for the fact that I was not on YouTube very much, I did not have much content, and everything increased exponentially over the past few months. The past few months were just gradually increasing about 5-10% at a time. For me to see a huge uptick, this mostly happened right around the time I was hitting 10K. Probably about 100 to 200 subscribers before I hit it, and then afterwards. So I think that also part of this is human psychology. I don't think it's just the algorithm. I think that when people see a channel that has more digits behind it, they take it more seriously. Because I saw this when I hit 1,000. When you have 3 digits versus 4 digits, people start to kind of take you a little bit more seriously. Like, oh, this is a channel that's growing that I should pay attention to. And so I've had more subscribers, I think, from that as well. I hope that these YouTube tips, this YouTube how-to has been helpful for you, but what I'd really love to do is get more helpful tips in the comments. If you're growing a YouTube channel, regardless of what size you're at, comment below and let us know what you're doing that's actually leading to results. Where are you getting the most results in growing your channel? Let's see if we can get a ton of ideas in the comments below. Don't forget to grab that YouTube planning template in the description below, and if you've made it to the end of this video, be sure to leave me a fist bump in the comments to let me know. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. This plane is so loud. It's like it's trying to land on my roof.